Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome back. So this is going to be just a little follow-up video to my previous video where I was talking about becoming a digital nomad. And so in this video, I'll be talking about the pros and cons of being a digital nomad. So we'll start off with some cons and then we'll finish up with some positives. So digital nomads can experience loneliness and isolation as they may not always have a consistent social circle like they otherwise would have back home. So for example, when I first started out, the first country that I went to was Thailand, and I was bouncing around different countries in Southeast Asia for just over a year, and I was staying in different hostels throughout that time because I was just starting out my online business, so I couldn't really afford to be renting out full-on apartments at that time. And so because I was staying in different hostels, it was actually quite easy for me to meet people who were also staying at these hostels. But you couldn't really build consistent social circles because everyone was just there temporarily, usually just for a few days. And even now, years later, that I'm able to stay in different apartments that I rent out through Airbnb, I'm even more isolated. So I would say that for sure loneliness for a lot of people would be a con. For me though, because I'm not really a people person and I'm more of an introvert, it's not a big issue for me at all, and I never really feel lonely. But I know that for a lot of people, that won't be the case. They will feel lonely and they might want to go back home to their friends and family. So another con would be lack of stability. Digital nomads do not have a stable home because we're always moving around, and it can be quite challenging for some people. I know a lot of people would like to be in one place all the time, and if you're that type of person, I would say that being a digital nomad and living this type of nomadic lifestyle would not be right for you. I would suggest to just find a city within a country that you really like and just move there permanently, as opposed to moving around from place to place living a nomadic lifestyle. And in relation to loneliness, I would say being homesick is another con. A lot of people who try to become digital nomads often become homesick after a few months. It can be really hard for some people to leave their friends and family behind and live abroad permanently. And as a digital nomad, you might only be able to go back home once every 1 to 2 years because it can be quite expensive, especially if you're from the US, for example, but you're staying in Asia. The flights can be very long and they can be very expensive. So you're going to miss birthdays, weddings, baby showers, stuff like that. So that's something that you really have to think about. For me, again, being homesick has never been an issue. Like I haven't felt homesick since I've become a digital nomad at all. But I think part of the reason for that is I've kind of experienced being homesick once before, a long time ago. So I was born in Ukraine, in Eastern Europe, and I lived with my grandparents pretty much from when I was like 1 year old or something, up until I was around 8 years old when I moved to England with my mum and my stepdad. Now, during the first few months of being in the UK, actually during the first few weeks of being in the UK, it felt great, it felt like a holiday. But then after a while, after like a month or so, I really began to feel homesick. I wanted to go back home to my grandparents and my friends, and my mum was just telling me like, no, this is where we're at now, this is where we're staying permanently. And I just remember at that time just crying myself to sleep every night because I was just so homesick. But it's like that saying goes, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So ever since then, I've never felt homesick ever. Like when I was 20, I moved to London for the first time to start university, and when I first moved there, like I never felt homesick. I never felt like I wanted to go back to Manchester. And 5 years ago when I started traveling again, I never felt homesick. And I think that's something to do with the fact that I've already experienced it at such a young age and overcame it. So I would say that if you are feeling homesick when you first start traveling, and I would say just try to persevere through it because eventually you'll get over it. So another con would be unpredictability. Working remotely can be unpredictable, and digital nomads may experience challenges with internet connectivity, time zone differences, and unexpected changes in their work schedules. So there are two main types of digital nomads: ones that become digital nomads by way of starting their own online business, and ones that become digital nomads by way of working remotely for a company. The latter has been more recent because in the last 3 years since the pandemic, there have been a rise in remote working jobs and more people have started to work remotely. If you're working remotely for a company, you have to think about the time zone differences. For example, if you're working for a US based company and you are contracted to work around 6 to 8 hours per day, but you are based in Thailand, that means that you'll be working nights because of the time difference. So that's something that you'll have to consider. Southeast Asia may not be the best option in that situation, so you'd have to maybe think about South America instead because the times are similar. If you have your own online business, that transition from working a regular job for a company to being your own boss can be challenging. Your income will be unpredictable from month to month. You have to be your own boss. You can't rely on others to sort out your problems. There's no boss or manager giving you instructions every day for you to follow. You have to be an independent thinker. You have to be self-motivated as well as being a willing and able problem solver. And to be honest, not everyone will be cut out for that. And the last con that I want to talk about in this video would be the difficulty in building long-term relationships. Living a transient lifestyle can make it challenging to build long-term relationships with partners, friends and colleagues. So I've been a digital nomad for about 5 years now. And in that time, I've never really been in a long-term relationship with any of the girls that I've dated. But for me, it's never been a problem because even back in the UK, I was never really a long-term relationship type of person. I was always more into short-term relationships because even back then, back in the UK, I was always sort of moving around quite often from Manchester to London, then back to Manchester, then back to London again. So I guess I've always kind of liked newness in general, and I've always been a bit of a gypsy in that way. So when you do that, it's hard to build, those types of long-term relationships with people. But I know that not everyone is like me, so some people will not like that. So if you are the type of person that likes to be in long-term relationships all the time, I think you could struggle living a nomadic sort of transient lifestyle. But if you can earn lots of money from your online business, for example, if you meet with someone and you fall in love with them, maybe you can take them with you on your journey. But then again, they may not always want to leave their friends and family behind, so it can be tricky. But you can always settle down in their country. More and more countries are now offering digital nomad visas, which allow you to stay from 6 months to a year in that country. And then after that, you can extend it for a further 6 months to a year. So I'm currently in Brazil, and last year they released their own digital nomad visa, which allows people to stay here for up to a year. And after that, you can obviously extend for another year potentially. And I believe Argentina also has one now, even though you don't really need one in Argentina to stay there for long term. But you can always check whether the country that you like has a digital nomad visa on Google, and you can check the requirements. Some of the requirements are usually stuff like minimum salaries that you have to earn. So usually it's between $1,500 and $3,000 per month, depending on the country that you're looking to go to. But every country will have their own requirements, so it's something that you just have to check on Google. So those were some of the cons of being a digital nomad. So now let's get into the pros. One of the main pros of being a digital nomad, I would say, is flexibility. Digital nomads have the freedom to work from anywhere at any time, as long as they have a good internet connection and a laptop. Like, I love being able to never have an alarm clock to wake me up early in the mornings. I just wake up whenever I feel like waking up, and I work whenever I feel like working, and it's just an amazing feeling. So for example, today, right now I'm in Rio de Janeiro, and I'm just a couple of blocks away from the beach. So I woke up at around 10:30, went straight to the beach for a couple of hours, then came back home, had a shower, had some lunch, and now I'm recording this video. So having that type of flexibility is amazing. Like, if I was still in the UK, working full time on a Monday, I'd have to wake up really early in the morning. It's probably going to be cold there right now. It's like the beginning of May. Still dark outside in the mornings, and yeah, like that feeling was just horrible. I used to hate it, so I never really want to experience that again, to be honest. So another pro would be the traveling. Digital nomads can explore different parts of the world whilst working, which can lead to a richer cultural experience as well as personal growth. Traveling is probably what I enjoy the most about being a digital nomad. I've been fortunate enough to go to a lot of interesting places and do a lot of interesting things. From hiking up volcanoes in Indonesia, to visiting the ancient city of Petra in Jordan, to swimming with whale sharks in the Philippines. And those are just some of the things that I've been fortunate enough to experience on my journey as a digital nomad for the last 5 years. And I'll treasure those moments and memories forever. And I'd say I've grown quite a lot as a person as well. I don't take things for granted anymore like I used to. I'm not as materialistic as I used to be. I'm much better at managing my money and time. I'm a lot more grateful for things than I used to be, partly due to my travels to some of the developing countries that I've visited. I've seen a lot of people working many hours per day for very little income, like $100 a month or even less. But the thing that I noticed is that these people don't really complain, they just get on with it. I remember I once walked through a rice field in Bali, in Indonesia, and when I was walking through this rice field, I saw some women working there in the field. And when they saw me, they just turned around, looked up, started smiling and waving at me. And that really surprised me because, these women were working all day, every day in the heat, and they still had a positive attitude. Meanwhile, when I used to live in the UK, I would complain about the smallest, most irrelevant things, most insignificant things, even though my life was a lot easier than these people. So I would say I definitely have a lot more gratitude and appreciation for what I have in my life, and that's mainly due to these experiences. So I would say variety is another pro of being a digital nomad. Digital nomads can work on a variety of different projects and tasks, which can help them develop new skills and gain experience in different industries. When I started my online business, I learned so much and gained so many new skills, from SEO to marketing and those are just some of the skills that will be with me forever. Also, traveling to different countries, you may want to learn new languages. For example, I'm currently learning Spanish as well as Portuguese because I spend a lot of my time in Brazil and Spanish-speaking countries in South America, such as Argentina. So these languages are really going to benefit me a lot, especially when it comes to meeting new people. I noticed that when I was in Southeast Asia though, the language barrier wasn't so big, so I didn't really feel the need to learn any of their languages. But here in South America, I feel it's really beneficial. And I would say meeting new people in different countries is another pro. I've mentioned before about the challenges of loneliness and building relationships, but it can still be done. You can still meet people and build relationships with people wherever you are. So I use an app called Meetup, and this is not an advert for them or anything like that. I'm not affiliated with them or anything like that. I just randomly found them one day on the Apple iStore years ago, and I've just always used them. I think it's a really good app to meet new people. So you can open up the app and search for whatever your interests are. So if you're interested in a particular sport like basketball, for example, and arrange to go and have a game of basketball. When I was in Argentina and even here in Rio de Janeiro, I sometimes go to these different language exchange meetups. It's usually in a bar and you meet different people and you can learn their language. For example, Portuguese, whilst teaching them English. And you can do it all by just talking to them, having a few beers, and getting to know each other and making new friends. So it's definitely something that I recommend you check out. I remember years ago when I was in Vietnam, I went to different pub crawl meetups through this app. And you basically arrange to meet these people in a bar, and then you just get to know them. You start going on a pub crawl from one bar to a next to a next to a next, and it's just a really good way, a really fun way to just meet new people, and it's great for solo travel. Another big pro would be the cost of living. Living as a digital nomad can be cheaper than living in a traditional apartment or house, as you can choose to live in a place which has a lower cost of living. So one of the reasons why you see a lot of digital nomads choosing to live places such as Southeast Asia or South America is the cost of living. If you are earning your income through your online business in pounds or US dollars or euros, your money will go a lot further than it otherwise would in the Western countries such as the UK, the US or Western Europe. So even though I travel a lot between Asia and South America, I'm still able to save money at the end of each month, and I use that money to invest in property. 2 years ago I was able to buy my second rental property in the UK, and now I'm saving up to buy a third. And I can do this without having a high income, and I don't usually live a very frugal lifestyle either. I eat out every day or I order out, I go on dates, I travel, and I just enjoy my life while still being able to save money at the end of each month. And this is something that I just couldn't do back in the UK. I was always like struggling at the end of each month to save money, and my quality of life was a lot worse as well. So overall I would say the quality of life is better. You know, I'm able to live in warm climate countries that I personally like, countries that have nice beaches. So yeah, I would say that overall my quality of life has increased by a lot. Another pro would be your work-life balance. Digital nomads can create a schedule that works for them, allowing them to have a better work-life balance and more time for hobbies and personal pursuits. So the type of income that my online business generates is mostly passive income, which means that I don't always have to trade my time for money. I can literally earn money in my sleep. There have been times when I've taken weeks off work and even over a month off work, and I've still been able to earn money. And that type of passive income allows me to have a better work-life balance, and it just enables me to have a lot more free time to do what I really want to do in life. You can start your digital nomad journey without having an online business by remote working, as I mentioned earlier. However, you will be contracted to work in a set number of hours every day, so I would highly recommend starting some sort of online business at some point, one that generates a more passive stream of income. I might actually make another video about this, talking about different types of online businesses and side hustles that you can start, ones that either I myself have tried or ones that other digital nomads that I have met are doing, just to give you guys some idea. But anyway, let me know if you're interested in seeing that type of video. So yeah guys, as you can see, like being a digital nomad, it can be great for some people, but it's not for everyone. It's not going to suit everyone. If you're thinking about becoming a digital nomad, I would recommend just saving some money and then just trying it out, because the worst that can happen is you might not like it and you can always return back home. But otherwise, it may be great. It may be something that really changes your life. You might love it. So I would just say try it out for yourself just to see if you like it or not. So anyway guys, that's about it for this video. So those are just some of the main pros and cons that I can think of. This is actually my second time recording this video. I tried the first time and I don't know, something happened to the video, it just wouldn't play back. So this is my second time recording this. But anyway, if you've got any questions in regards to this video, drop them down in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.